Good morning, good afternoon, or evening, whichever or wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to the Truck Around and Find Out podcast, where we like to get together and discuss some interesting topics, some fun ones surrounding the trucking, our safety, our community, each of our lives up here in northern Colorado. Keith, this is our episode 45, and it's going to be our first video session now that we've got the studio done. We're your hosts. I'm Ryan Byers, the owner of Front Range Compliance and DOT University, and we're joined by Keith Couch with Rush Truck Center. And of course, we do have Red Beard. He's sitting behind the camera and running all of our controls. So Keith, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
Good. Yeah. Having a good week this week.
It's been busy.
How's things at Rocky Mountain Peterbilt?
Truck
Busy?
sales have picked up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Nice.
Lower fuel prices helps.
It helps. It seems like the fuel prices are creeping back up, though. So.
They are, but we got new engines coming out in January. So we got a few guys that are just, I don't want to be a guinea pig.
Yeah.
Got a lot of other guys that are kind of, it is what it is.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Hard to believe we've done 45.
I know, it's 45. It's almost been a full year, 52, because we haven't missed a week. So as soon as I know when we get to 52, we'll have that first year, notch, and we'll be ready to go another year. But I'd say we're moving in the right direction. We got the directions and everything kind of set up here. And
thank you, Holly.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my beautiful wife Holly came in and set this up. She's been on a decorating frenzy as of lately, so she's just kind of carrying that over, and appreciate that. So you like the new studio? Think it's looking pretty good?
I do.
Yeah. How about that picture she had made for you? She
looks really good.
She was unimpressed with your car in the garage, so she made sure that it had trees and mountains behind it. She's loving the AI technology.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So she had that framed and put your Firebird in here on the top shelf.
Well, Eric Zerbruggen thought I took the picture up in the mountains.
Yeah. It's if the lighting doesn't quite look right on the car, so that's why you can be like, it doesn't quite seem like it, but it looks good. At least the picture looks good on the shelf. So yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Holly. We appreciate the work and getting us ready for us. So we still need to kind of work on the table situation. Yeah. We've got this kind of weird horseshoe table that we found to try to. We had that flat table that we've been working on. We're doing our recordings downstairs, and we kind of wanted something that we could, if we have guests, that we can seat a few more people or a couple more people in here with us. However, a tablecloth or a cover or something is kind of hard for this shape. So we're still trying to figure that out, but hey, we'll get it figured out. Worst case scenario, I don't think it looks too bad in the shot. So that's if Luke doesn't, isn't recording us below the table there. Nothing below the table there, Luke, so that kind of thing. But, we'll get that figured out.
I may show up in shorts and flip-flops, so.
Absolutely.
Just be prepared.
Okay, fantastic. So it's been a good week, been super busy. We've got the new recording studio going, and we're about ready to take off and get our first episode and get that released. Pretty excited about that. How do you feel about all this?
Good. This is... it's kind of like we talked about. We just need to start. And once we kind of got started, that kind of evolved a little, and now it's evolved into this, which is amazing. You guys have done most of the work on this, so I appreciate that.
Yep.
But it's amazing, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too. So, fantastic. Well, we kind of wanted to kick off this first episode, Keith, with just kind of doing a little introduction of who we are, get back to the basics. This is the first time our people that are viewing us and watching us, or the first time they're going to actually see us. So I figured, we'd kind of go back to the beginning and do a little bit of an introduction of who we are and that kind of thing. So if you don't mind, we'll kind of dive into that. And,
sure.
I'd like to start with you. I'm going to put you in that hot seat first. Here's some stories about you, and hopefully you can get us some good. I did find out just before this episode that you fell on your head once. So I got to put my readers on so I can see what I'm doing here. So
it explains a lot, I'm sure.
So you and I, we first met back in 2012. I was thinking about that this morning as I was kind of getting ready for this. I was like trying to fix a date, and I knew it was, somewhere between 2012 and 2013, and I think that was when I very first started the business back, and I had a business partner that I was working with, and we kind of got together. We had somebody that had connected us, a mutual acquaintance, and we met at Biaggi's. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I think
Wasn't that Nick Henshaw
Nick
that introduced us? Nick Henshaw?
No, it was that
was
other guy. That other guy. That his name is Steve.
Oh, that guy.
That guy. Yeah, Steve introduced us.
Packer Puke.
The Packer Puke. Yeah, yes, yeah. Mr. Steve Neve introduced us. He knew you from working with you at a couple dealerships, and he knew me because we were neighbors and friends. And he just kind of thought that you and I needed to be connected.
Okay.
Thought we were kind of very like-minded, and I think he was right. So good decision on his part. But so we met. We had lunch, and I remember sitting down with you, and I just kind of opened up and shared with you kind of what my vision was and what I wanted to do starting the DOT safety business. And you heard me out and told me that you had some clients that could
Were you
use
still
some help.
at CSP at that time?
No, I was on my own. I had already moved up to Johnstown.
Okay.
And we had that first business. That first business that we started was called the DOT Inspector. At the time, seemed like a good idea, but really bad idea because everybody thought that's what we actually were. And the business partner I had at that time, that was also a bad idea. So unfortunately, but anyways, so I met with you. We kind of talked and shared with you what my what I was doing. And I think at that time you were doing some equipment sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you were some stuff with
working
Alan
with
and
Alan Battaglia.
Yeah.
With equipment locators out of Denver.
Yeah, you were doing that. I think you had some stuff with like a fuel cleanup, and you were kind of bouncing in between. I think
LD Smith.
I think you had a few different hustles going. Not that they were hustles. You were just working. You were hustling to make them all work.
They weren't hustles. They were just other things that I was helping people with, and it all kind of connected to truck sales. Mm-hmm. So and I think we did some lunch and learns.
Yeah, we definitely
at
did.
Well County Garage at the time.
We did some, and we did some down in Denver
at Transwest.
At Transwest, and we did one at it was the area, the Builders Association or something like that, in their training room downstairs. So we just got together. We did some kind of your clients got involved and came in, and they were definitely well received, and we got a lot of clients and some stuff like that. So it was very helpful, and it was something that I was, of course, very grateful for because you kind of opened up your network to me. Because when I as I say you had hustles going, I didn't mean you were hustling. You were actually working, hustling to move your business, like in the mode of getting that business rocking and rolling. And you were very instrumental for me in my success because as you got to know me and know the program, you'd call me up every couple weeks and say, how's it going? You need some more clients, and you'd tell me, well, these people are waiting for you to call them, and it's exciting to say, when you sent me a referral, almost all of them signed up for services and I started working with them, and it was very helpful. So, so we collaborated on some of those trainings. You sent me some referrals, and I would I have often said that I'll forever be grateful to the help that you gave me getting my business started for the leads and the people that you've introduced me to, and the things I think you've taught me through the years. Just, I kind of came into this from being a state trooper to all of a sudden I'm trying to build this business and making cold calls and trying to call people. And you were very instrumental in guidance and helping me come up with even some slogans and different stuff that's, very, very useful. And I definitely appreciate it. So I'll always be thankful for your guidance through the years, but most of all, I think our friendship that developed through that whole process. Absolutely. So yeah. So Keith, tell me a little bit about your walk of life. I know that you grew up in Nebraska. What was that like?
It was good. We kind of joked that it's a great place to be from. But people think of Nebraska, they think of Lincoln and Omaha, and I was at the other end of the state, right on the Wyoming border. So, 3/4 of all the population in Nebraska is dry line from North Platte to Omaha. 3/4 of the population is south of that line. 1/4 is in the other 2/3 of the state. So pretty rural area, not terribly remote, but pretty rural. So we would lots of hunting, lots of fishing,
Yeah,
lots of camping.
absolutely.
You know, just always in the outdoors. Always in the outdoors.
Now, did you live in town? Did you live out in the country?
Lived in town.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, spent a lot of summers in northern Montana. Family has a farm and ranch in northern Montana, so baling hay and running tractors and just kind of helping out.
Gotcha. Very good.
Yeah,
Very good. So now you went to school. Obviously, went to the basic school, high school up there,
Scottsbluff High School.
Scottsbluff, and then where did you go to college?
I did. Played football down at Doane College down in southeast Nebraska.
Okay,
Figured out what humidity was.
gotcha.
Freshman year.
And I think it's probably safe to say that because you're from Nebraska, you're also a Husker fan.
Sure. Yeah, I am.
Big Husker fan.
Had some friends play for the Huskers.
Yeah, very cool.
I had big aspirations of playing for them too, but
Yeah,
had an ACL blowout on me as a junior in high school. And back then, they cut your whole knee open and
oh yeah,
put a screw in. It's not like it is today. So,
yeah, they've definitely advanced that stuff.
so once you do that, you're done.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, your early career goals. What did you want to do when you grew up?
I didn't know for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought I'd get into truck sales, heavy equipment things, because I'd been around it growing up. So thought I'd do that till I figured out what I wanted to do. And
Just kind of
35 years later, I'm still doing it.
okay. Fantastic.
But it's been a good living. It's good people.
Gotcha.
I really enjoy it.
So went to college, played some football, hoped to play for the Packers, or not the Packers. Well, I don't know where I came up
I'm
with
gonna
that.
wash your mouth out.
Oh man,
That's
talk
a
about a
Freudian
slip on
slip.
that one. Wanted to play for the Huskers. That must have been what I meant to say there. And ultimately got into truck sales. How did you get into truck sales?
I actually started working down at Merritt Trailers
Okay.
down in Denver, cattle trailers, grain trailers, as a sales assistant. And one of the dealers that he sold used trucks and new and used trailers. And he was a new trailer dealer for Merritt and knew I had connections in Montana. And made me a job offer. I accepted it. Was dating Kelly at the time. She moved up. We got married. Stepson actually graduated from Conrad High School, Conrad, Montana. And then we wound up moving back down here. And
Yeah.
still, went to work for Maxi Truck Equipment and then Wild County Garage.
Mm-hmm.
And then did a little bit at John Deere, a little bit at Transwest on the GMC side, and then to Rush Truck Centers. So
Gotcha.
I've been at Rush longer than I've been anywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You started in Rush in when was that?
March of 2014.
14. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, with that, let me ask you this, Keith. Can you share with us a young Keith Couch story that may have contributed to your beliefs and where you've ended up today, whether that be in safety, a safety culture, a process, or awareness? Kind of hit you up with that a little bit earlier. And
It's probably, I would say that ties in with that is what we've talked about. I was rock climbing at Big Thompson Canyon, and I think that was September of 93 or 94. And Kelly was actually there and tried to go over an overhang and actually fell rock climbing. And by the grace of God, I hit the only flat rock in the whole area.
oh man,
Fell about 25 feet, hit right here, the back left side of my head. Of course, it knocked me out. Blood went everywhere, from what I am told. And some people on Highway 34 heard Kelly screaming, and they stopped and they helped. They called 911. We got a ride to the hospital in the ambulance. But paramedics, that was Bill Clinton was the president at the time. Of course, when you wake up, they're asking you a bunch of questions. Who are you? What's your birthday? What day is it? And everything like that. And he said, who's the president of the United States? They said, we knew you would be okay when you went, oh, what's his name? Oh, Slick Willie. They started laughing and said, he'll be all right.
he's gonna be all right.
He'll be okay.
Well,
But,
wow, what a fall.
yeah, but was able to walk out of the hospital that night and
Good.
didn't have to stay overnight or anything. But some people say it explains a lot. But
Well, praise the
that
Lord.
was when that was the day I realized I'm not immortal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody has that record at one point
Especially
or another.
young men.
So some of us are slower learners than
Yes.
others, but which is why we need to have safety cultures to make sure that we're always thinking about those different safeties. All right, thank you for sharing that. Ultimately, let me ask you this: we kind of got into this about how you ultimately ended up in the truck sales through that whole walk of life. So I think we've got that really kind of figured out for you. I think I would shift on that question and ask you. So I one of the things that you taught me was value-driven sales. Provide your customers with value. And for me, I interpreted that of being there to help them. Don't worry about the dollar. Don't worry about making the sale. Always pushing that. Probably one of the biggest things. But I know with you work a lot with your clientele, from really trying to sort out their commodities, sort out the different types of trucks they're going to get all those little kinks worked out. But you're also there. I know a lot of your customers come to you and trust because they trust you and that type of thing. What are some of the things that you like to provide through your customers and services like that?
Just helping them get what they want. I mean, we're problem solvers. A lot of times it's like, they may have a dispute on a bridge law or something like that. I've reached out to you several times on, hey, does this bridge look right? Just verifying and overweight permits, things like that. And I don't get paid for any of that. So it's just helping them. And kind of like with your business, if I help you get what you want, it helps me get what I want too. And if you just help people, the business will come.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this. With what you do, how would you say that you would affect the culture of safety amongst companies? And excuse me, I kind of look at that and say, look at the services that you provide, making sure people get the right equipment. I think that there's a lot of sales reps that are out there that are just pushing equipment so they can get their paychecks, and I think you could probably name a couple dozen. I've met a good handful through the years, that type of thing. They just want to make sales, not necessarily looking at, hey, what is the best course of action? What is the best product that this company needs to make sure that they're safe? And I know I've hit you up and asked like questions on trying to upgrade fleets to get away from those vehicles that are causing maintenance, a lot of maintenance costs and are unsafe. So with part of your role, how would you feel that you help companies to achieve their goals in safety and that type of thing by
Just
acquiring
recommendations, manufacturer recommendations? Probably the biggest one that I've been involved with is talking to people about full disc brakes on these trucks. They stop so much better. And especially with the mountains that we have here in Colorado, it reduces brake fade immensely. So it's much safer in the mountains, especially when you're coming down. So it's just any new technology. There's some technology out there that's incredibly annoying. The Bendix system, beeping at you if you just move a little bit, and you got to stay super tight in the middle of the lane. And that's a tough one, but, insurance companies like them. Makes them tough for resale because there's no way to turn it off. If a truck is built with it, it will die with it. You can't turn it off. You can't cut a wire. It's just nothing we can do about it. So it's just explaining all that, because most owners think, well, just plug in your computer and turn it off. Well, I can't on that one.
Sure.
So, different new wheels, new tires, there's new suspension systems all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just talking with them about what are they doing, where are they doing it, and what works best for them. And if they get in an accident, did they have every piece of safety equipment on there to help them that they could have?
Right. Well, I think what I've seen a lot with the safety equipment, looking at the litigation side of this on the backside of compliance, is companies that are putting that technology, that the companies that are not monitoring that technology, and they continue to allow unsafe actions to happen because, and it may not be the technology necessarily that comes with the truck, but through the dash cams and the telematic software and everything else, we're seeing a lot of companies that are getting called on the carpet because they're knowingly allowing people to speed, and their arguments, well, we didn't knowingly allow them to speed, but they have the technology, but they're not doing anything with the alerts, or they're not following through. So I think our industry as a whole is just really going to be data driven, based on that safety technology and that type of thing. So, so perfect.
So you grew up in Western Colorado.
I did.
I grew up in Western Nebraska. You were Western.
Yes, I was on
Colorado.
the opposite side of Colorado. Yeah. I grew up, Keith, in a place called Pea Green, Colorado. So I don't know. I think I've told you about Pea Green in the past. It's pea like the vegetable, PEA. So Pea Green, and it was a little spot between Delta and Olathe. So if you don't know where Delta or Olathe is, it's about 45 minutes south of Grand Junction. So yeah, Western Colorado. I had the joy of growing up on a cattle ranch. So I lived in the country. When I'd go to school, the summer break would hit, I'd say goodbye to my friends, and I wouldn't see them again until fall, because I was way out and about 20 miles out into the country. So yeah, I grew up out in Pea Green on a cattle ranch. I had about 2,000 acres as my playground as I was growing up. My BB gun was my best friend when I was little. And I graduated up into a 22, and I would go chase blackbirds sitting on cattails or prairie dogs, and that was just kind of how I grew up. And so way out in the country. So very interesting.
It got it.
It was pretty much the way. I remember, I think my grandfather had a few conversations with me about respectful hunting and treating of animals, and that if you take an animal, you better eat an animal, and then that only the nuisance animals, that of course didn't carry. If there were certain animals, if you saw them, you dropped them. So yeah, that was just
it's kind of like at CYO, these single moms or single dads, they come in and they think they're raising a serial killer. It's like, nah, he's 10 to 12 years old.
Yeah.
It's just what boys do.
It's his male instinct. Just go with it, give him the tools, and teach him how, and the rights and wrongs.
So I'm assuming Pea Green was too small to have its own high school.
They did not. They had that school on the corner, like the country school, that I'm pretty sure my dad, because since that's a family generation, lived out there. My dad, my grandparents, they all went to school out there. But yes, I went to school in Olathe, so I attended all the schools up through high school, and then when I left high school, I think my aspiration was I wanted to be a rancher. So I had kind of had this vision that we were going to create this powerful calf crop by using artificial insemination. We were going to breed these prize cattle, and that was kind of the route I wanted to go. So I decided I was going to go to start off at Fort Lewis College and study some ag business, and I was going to see what I could learn and bring back and become an educated cowboy essentially, and kind of join that business. And that was me. I was going to be a rancher. So that was what my family did, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. So yeah,
good.
And not anywhere that I ended up. I went to college, and my college career, I played football too. I went to Fort Lewis. They were known as the Fort Losers because I think they won one game a year. And I discovered, even though I was with a very small college team, I most definitely discovered that I did not have the build for college football. It's a whole new game. So you leave a high school like Olathe, and you think, hey, I'm a tough guy, and I can hold it. You show up at the college team, and it's like, oh, this is a whole new level. I wasn't ready for that. So I wouldn't. I needed to be taller, and with my height and shape, I'd probably need to be thinner and maybe a running back or something like that. But most definitely not an lineman with my 5'10" build and that at that time. So yeah, that was a learning experience. But I studied drinking 101, and we figured out where to buy beer, and I came home a little soon, so I did not finish that college career. So came home and entered the working force, and I think I was at Russell Stover's Chocolate or Candy, the factory, for 30 days. And I was
Where's that factory?
That was in Montrose. It's closed now. But I came home from college. The only job I could find was Russell Stover's. I worked there for 30 days and just said, oh, no, this is not my path. This is not what it is. No. So I got a job logging. So I logged for 3.5 seasons. Loved the job. I couldn't imagine staying with logging for the years.
Where were you logging at?
We were in Western Colorado. So that was when you had the LP plant was still in Delta Olathe, where they make the the board, the LP board. It's plywood, kind of like that type of thing. And so we were harvesting the aspen trees, and they were going to that mill, and they were getting mass produced. And it was a huge plant. It's now closed, but so I logged basically between Meeker, the Uncompahgre Plateau, all the way to the San Juan. So in those 3 years, it was a lot of different locations.
So what was your specific job, or did you start at something and move and graduate, or?
I started at the bottom. I was a saw hand, and when you're young and 19, that's good business.
Yeah.
We were living in the mountains, and we're all living in one big camper together. It was a small logging crew, and we'd play cards and drink some beers, and it seems like everybody smoked. And at that time I didn't smoke, but you had to join them or die, because you couldn't breathe in the air, so you just had to get used to the smoke. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun, but I recognized the people that I was working with, and I learned a lot about trucking when we were logging.
Sure.
Like later on when I got certified,
those are some serious trucks.
Some stuff a lot about trucking. Like I learned all your heavy machinery had to be moved in the middle of the night. So, and later when I became a state trooper, I remember sitting through that class going, oh, this all makes sense now. But they convinced us, when you're young and you'll do anything your boss tells you that you're going to do. But, they convinced us. They said, it's safer because people aren't out on the highways at night. So that's why we're doing it. And I learned later, I'm like, no, there's a reason why they were moving their trucks in the middle of the night. But, so... it was a great career, but I noticed that all the people that are probably my age now looked like they were about 70 to 90, and their bodies were just broken and tore down. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to do. It was, and it was a time too when that was kind of like we were starting to get a lot of protesters on it. Environmentalists were coming up. We had to deal with people chaining themselves to cattle guards so that you couldn't drive over them, and cutting fences and driving around them. But that was also back in the days when stuff could happen, and today you just don't have the law on your side, or the people on your side, that kind of thing. So it was interesting times, but most definitely a different path.
So does that kind of go to our next question of, does that kind of tie into the safety?
No, I wanted absolutely nothing to do with safety.
Nothing.
So no, okay. I got into law enforcement. So I put myself through my first police academy, and I got hired by Cedar Edge Police Department. And
where was that police academy?
Police academy was the Delta Montrose Vocational, the VOTEC. So it was the vocational school out there. I don't know what they call it these days. It's something similar, but it's got a new name. But they had a police academy out there where you can get your post certificate. So I put myself through that training, and I got hired by Cedar Edge Police Department, 5 officers, and I wanted to be a police officer at that point. I was in it full fledged, still
not state patrol.
Not state police. Patrol. Yeah. Okay. So I got hired by Cedar Edge. I worked there for 9 months, and I remember driving through that town one night, and I made 9 loops around the town in an hour, and I was just like, I've got to do something different, because all we knew how to do was point our radar gun at people. I mean, there was no. It was a retirement community, so I was like, it just was horrible.
Where was this at?
It was Cedar Edge, Colorado, which is probably about 25, 30 minutes out of Delta. So if you go down Highway 92, like you're heading toward Hotchkiss, Paonia area, as you get out of town, Highway 65, which takes you up over Grand Mesa, and it'll drop you off on the other side. It'll connect with I-70 there in Tibet Canyon. So, so just right up over the top of Grand Mesa. Basically right at the foot of the mountain, just kind of in the cedars. That's why they call it Cedar Edge. So you're kind of right at that edge where the cedars and the pines kind of meet, that kind of area. So I worked there for 9 months, and then I went to the sheriff's department. I got hired by the Delta County Sheriff's Department as a patrol deputy, and I worked there for about 3.5 years. And that was a good time. I loved working for the sheriff's department, but I liked doing traffic way too much. My sheriff did not like traffic, because that's a good way to get the voters to not care for the sheriff. So I think I was a thorn in the sheriff's side.
What county?
That was Delta County.
Delta County.
Yeah, so I worked there for 3.5 years. I got to know the troopers and made some good friends within the State Patrol, and they convinced me to apply for the State Patrol. And I was lucky enough to get hired and get stationed back in Delta. So I came back, and I was a trooper in Delta. Of course, there's a little bit more to that story, but we'll keep it short. But I ended up in Delta, and so that was a lot of fun. It was now I got to focus on traffic. I got to in a small community, you get to back up your local departments a lot. So I worked a lot with the local departments. Those are all guys that I knew since I was in law enforcement over there previously. So that worked out really well. Okay. And then I convinced my troop captain to send me to a level 1 inspection school, not because I wanted anything to do with safety. I still wasn't thinking about safety. I wanted to find super loads of dope. So, I'd sit down at night and I'd watch the real lives of the highway patrol, and you'd see these great big massive loads of dope. And I was like, boy, I want to find that. I want to do that. So he sent me to the level 1 truck school. I got certified. I came back. When I was working day shift, I was doing commercial vehicle inspections. When I was working night shift, I was trying to get DUIs. So I had the best of both worlds. And I would say this: I did find some drugs, but I never got to call the chief and say, "Hey, the war on drugs is over," because I got them all right here. So instead, that is the turning point for me. That is when I discovered that I had this little niche, this little knack for the safety side of that. Colorado, the State Patrol's motor carrier safety section saw the work that I was doing. They offered me a promotion, and I sold my land out that I had that was attached to my family's ranch. I sold 80 acres, and I moved to a little subdivision in the middle of Arvada and joined motor carrier safety up in the Denver area. And that would have been my true path to my calling in the safety side of this.
Kind of the culture of safety.
Yeah. So went to Denver, did inspections for a year, and then I moved into compliance investigations. And then on my third year, I became a trainer, and that's when I started training for the state and also for the Federal Motor Carrier Safety.
And how many years did you do that before you went out on your own?
I did that for 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah. Okay. So it was right about 12 years. So
okay.
Total law enforcement was about 16 and a half years. So yeah, it was a fun time. Made some good friends and that type of thing. And then I think when I made that jump, Keith, to front range compliance, leaving the State Patrol and starting my own business, I will tell you this: it was probably the scariest thing. Not probably, it was the scariest thing I ever did in my life, because I went from that guaranteed paycheck, I had health insurance, I had retirement. So I made the jump. I didn't even tell my family. My kids were the only ones that knew. I come from my dad, though he lived on the ranch, he was a school teacher. So there was the state retirement plan, that PERA. You got to stick and do your time and get that pension. Well, I did the unthinkable. I ended my career, said I was starting a business, and I took that pension money, and that's when I started this. But I decided to do that because CSA hit. Do you remember the whole CSA 2010?
Yes.
And it was a huge impact. It was affecting companies. Companies were going out of business. And I made that decision, said, because every time I'd meet the safety people, it just didn't seem like they were really with it. And I was like, man, I was arrogant enough to think that when I left CSP and started my business, I was probably thinking that I was pretty hot stuff and that I knew everything there was to know. And little did I know my education was just beginning. So, I
remember that when you getting going.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun times. It was a lot of work and a lot of hustling, and you just gotta just dive in and just keep working. It's I would say if you want to talk about the American dream, I feel like I truly did achieve and follow the example by starting a business and working. I mean, you could be bigger, you could make more money and everything else, but I feel like I was very successful in what I did, and I'm very thankful.
Well, everybody I referred to you called me and said thank you.
Yeah, well, good
The
to
guy's
hear.
great.
Yeah, good to hear. I appreciate that. So, anyways, that was my walk and how I got to safety.
Good.
So, anyways, good times. Good times.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, well, Keith, do you have any personal updates or anything like that? Anything going on?
Well, this July 20th is my 30th wedding anniversary.
So glad you brought that up. I was so going to throw you under the bus if you didn't.
That was, it's just amazing. I mean, as I say, it completely outkicked my coverage. So, but no, it's been great. Kelly and I got married in Glacier National Park by my dad in 1996, right on the shores of Lake McDonald.
And you two met in college?
No,
I thought you said that
out
earlier.
of college.
Out of college. Okay.
Just out of college.
I gotcha.
Yeah, a friend of mine was dating a friend of Kelly's, and he introduced us together. So
worked out well.
And I moved to Montana. We dated for several years, and then I moved to Montana. And my theory is she couldn't live without me. I'm not sure her version's the same, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
There you go. That works.
It's 30 years. It's been a great 30 years. We got grandkids, and it's good. And it's been a fantastic life with Kelly. And when we started together, we had nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, we lived in about a 700 square foot house. Daniel, my stepson, he slept on a futon in the living room. So, I mean, we made it work.
Yeah.
Just made it work.
It's not that much different times now. The dollar amounts are different, right? When you look at how much you make to how much you have to pay for everything, everything has changed as that goes. But it's very, very similar. A lot of seeing the struggles the young people are doing today and thinking about our own lives, it's very, very similar walk of life. Just got to keep working. But congratulations to you and Kelly, man. That is fantastic. 30 years. I don't know, we get a little get together going on this weekend.
Yeah, Saturday night.
Little gathering to help.
And my folks will be there. They just celebrated their 60 year.
Oh, very neat.
60th anniversary.
Wow,
so
that's spectacular. Well, good. I look forward to meeting them.
Yeah.
So that'll be great.
Known them all my life.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up because I was gonna if you didn't. I asked you about it before we started shooting it. You didn't say anything. I was like, "Boy, is he gonna mention it? Is he not?" But
you have to. That's a big deal. It is. It is a big deal.
It absolutely is. Well, fantastic. All right, I think we asked before if we had any daily discussions, and I kind of felt like we decided since we were going back to the basics and doing a little bit of an introduction of who we are to our viewers, so they can hopefully tune in on some of our other videos. That we're going to be doing here in the future. So I don't really have any daily discussion points we're going to bring up, but what about truck around and find out some TAFOs of the week? I know I've got a couple topics that we can kind of get into, but also I think are going to be things that'll lead us into some of our future episodes. Besides, one of the things that we want to do is showcase the different positions that are and jobs in transportation, which I think we did a good job of that today. You are in truck sales, you're pushing safety cultures, helping people get in equipment, helping them improve their maintenance programs, getting them in touch with your resources. I mean, I swear everybody, that kind of thing. So,
Tim Traum's the manager of our Ford store in Denver, and he calls me Congressman Couch.
Congressman Couch, that's great. So, and then I know we've got some problematic stuff that's coming up, that's been going on. So, one of the episodes that we were unfortunate you weren't a part of that episode because you were in the middle of a big deal that you were working on. So I put together that I was talking about one of the problematic things that was the end of the honor system, and it's been a rather problematic situation. So for Truck Around to Find Out, I just kind of want to touch bases on that and one other topic, and that's going to be the end of the honor system. The previous programs that the FMCSA that they have introduced have been very problematic and resulted in thousands of unqualified drivers, unlawful hours of service operations, and frauds. That's affecting good companies, that type of thing. So basically, what the FMCSA did was they said, hey, if you are going to have an ELD system, or if you built an ELD system, it has to be to this, this, and this. And they just allowed the industry to go through and self-certify. And I remember in that first year, there was like 300 ELD providers. And since then, just thousands have come out of the woodwork. And if you're in transportation, you have a DOT number, you've received the phone calls from different companies saying, hey, we've got an ELD. Ours is the cheapest. I remember cheapeld.com. These guys called me. They had a Indian or Middle Eastern Eastern accent, and they couldn't describe to me anything about their ELD because I was asking them very pointed questions about it, and all they could say is it's cheap ELD, cheapeld.com. It's $19 a month, and that's all they cared about. Well, they just came out of the woodwork, and of course, none of them were working. In fact, we even discovered there were some that if you paid an extra fee, their system would correct all your hours of service and make false logs, and it was a self-certification like the honor system. Well, we saw the very same thing happen a few years later when 2022, when they said, hey, entry-level driver training, you have to do this, this, and this, and all these CDL schools came forward and said, hey, well, we have a driver training program. Our theory program is right. Our class, so that's the classroom training. Our behind-the-wheel training is built this way. And just recently, 4,500 CDL schools have been disqualified and pulled out of the system. Companies, you had people just come out of the woodwork and said, oh, we can do this. So they're filling out the paperwork, getting somebody their CDL, but did they really do a training program? Well, when the FMCSA, somewhere along the line, they thought it was a good idea to have an honor system built for these things, and they thought everybody's going to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Have you ever been around an honor box with candy bars in it?
Once.
Yeah. The one thing I ever discovered about the honor box is all the candy's gone and the little money jar is empty. Yeah. So, that's just, I hate to say it's human nature, but I think in the grand scale of things, if people, you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. Yeah. And if that whole system has been abused. So the FMCSA, they're cracking down on these. They're canceling a lot of these programs and everything else. And I would say this, due to bad policy and decision-making by the FMCSA, it has led to a lot of fraud. It's led to some serious crashes. They need to start stepping up. Which brings me to my second truck around and find out there's going to be my social media. So I know you follow a lot of social media. What platforms do you typically use? Are you
usually YouTube?
You're usually YouTube. You're not on Facebook too much.
I'm on there, but it's just for the GTO club.
Gotcha. So I would say that I follow more X, the formerly the Twitter, and a little bit YouTube, some stuff like that. But I think when I log in and I start reading through the articles and that, you have to swim through the weird stuff that pops up because everybody's got a voice and there's a lot of nonsense. But I think that every time I log into it, I see 2 or 3 different truck crashes, serious truck crashes. We're talking fatalities, different things like that. And that's some of the channels that I follow is kind of bringing that to light. But it just seems like the social media right now is just riddled with serious truck fatalities, interstate commerce, guys that are on one side of the state, they got their license, they're employed in the other side of the nation, that type of thing. And these are some really serious crashes, and people are dying, and a majority of them are going to be caused by unqualified drivers that don't have a license, because they have no name given. That's been a hot topic now. Like the guy's name is no name given, and they're giving people licenses like that. You've got some other things where they went through bad CDL schools and they didn't really get trained, or maybe they're not in the country legally, that type of thing. So we have a serious issue. We also have a major issue with the FMCSA where companies are reincarnating, or they're cloning their company, and they become what's called a chameleon carrier. So they kind of dump a DOT number, pick up a new one, and they try to start and say they have the history. And they've tracked some of these companies of doing it dozens of times, just over and over, very unsafe. So I guess what I'm getting at here is I would like to know, and I'd like to explore this within future episodes and maybe even some guests, is when is the FMCSA going to say, hey, enough's enough. It's time to, instead of doing all this civil stuff, the civil penalties like they do at the audits, when are they going to step in and say, hey, we're the federal government, we need to start filing criminal charges? So if you get an interstate carrier that goes through and causes a serious fatality crash, and through that investigation you discover all the different unsafe factors that went into that. Maybe it was an unqualified driver, improper hiring. When are the feds going to start saying, hey, no, we're not going to leave this to the states for local prosecution. We're going to turn around and we're going to handle this as federal charges. So if you get in law enforcement, if an individual is interstate, if they're crossing state lines and they're carrying drugs and they have a certain amount, once that goes federal, I remember in my law enforcement days, there's criminals going, no, I'm under whatever that poundage amount, because they knew if they got tapped with 4.9 pounds of cocaine, that would be a state charge. But if they had 5 pounds or more, that would be a federal charge. And I don't remember the exact poundage amount. I'm just using that for an example. Well, the criminals know, and they're gonna toe the line. So I guess I'm saying, when is it the time gonna come, for the feds to start charging these, holding people accountable instead of this just civil nonsense, these civil penalties, which I think some of these companies just gear up to pay them and move on, or they just reincarnate and move on, that type of thing. So I would say this is for a truck around and find out, I think personally it's time for the feds to drop the hammer on these folks. They have the power to make it known that if you truck around, you're going to find out, that type of thing. So anyways, some future episodes, some things to talk about. So, all right. Well, Keith, in closing, you got anything you want to add or throw in there?
Nope, I'm good.
No, not at all. Well, appreciate you all for tuning in on our first episode. Yeah. Congratulations there, Keith. It was a good time. I look forward to doing a lot of more episodes with you and getting our little studio some good use and some mileage and traction, that kind of thing.
Get some good guests on here.
I think it's going to be great.
It's always interesting to hear stories on how people started and where they got to where they are.
Oh, absolutely.
It's always interesting.
It definitely is. So, yeah. Well, thank you for what you do, helping move America forward. If you brought it, we bought it, and we appreciate you. Keep our shiny side up. Stay safe out there. We'll catch you on one of the next episodes.
God bless you guys.
Catch you on the next one.